Hey guys, I want to show you kind of how I make a scroll. I know they're not that difficult, but you know, some guys they are. So let's take a look at it. And so to do that, I'm going to show you a scroll that I use on, seems like about everything. It's one of those things that it's always served me well, so I thought I'd show you how to make it. Now it's kind of a combination. Actually, the center part of it, I stole from a guy by the name of Daniel Searing. Daniel was an old shaker. And one of the things you find out about the Western shakers is they weren't quite as simplistic as the Eastern shakers. Anyway, he had I like the center part of his scroll. And of Daniel Searing, the shaker said that he was the mechanic, and that's what they called the woodworkers. He was the mechanic who taught the others. He was reputed to be excellent. And I've seen his work, and boy was he. Let me show you the scroll and how I go about making one. This is just a piece of MDF. It's 32 inches. It can be whatever. But I've also cut another piece that's exactly half of that. I'm going to make a half pattern. Now it doesn't have to be MDF, or it doesn't have to be even wood. You could do it with a piece of, construction paper or whatever. But here's what I'm going to do. The first part of the scroll, it has an arc. So I'm going to set my compass from this top down. I'm about 1 3/4 inches. Now I'm setting about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom here. And I'm going to draw an arc. But at the same time, I'm going to drop down here, and I'm just going to go ahead and get this arc. Even though it's not going to be quite exact because of the 1/8 inch offset, it's not a big deal. Okay, now I've got a combination square, and I've got a center line. I'm going to set my combination square on my center line, and I'm simply going to draw a line. Kind of looks like a cat, don't it? All right. Now, what I want to do out here, I'm going to make it look like kind of like a bracket foot. I'll show you. And I'm just going to freehand this. I'm going to come up. I'm going to sweep it up a little bit. Come over, and I'm going to turn it back because I want to make a point come down on it. Now I'm roughing this out. This is kind of what I'm going to be going for. Okay, but I want to do that. So since this is going to be, this is my cutout right here. Okay, so I'm going to do it this way. Now all I'm going to do, I told you guys I can't draw, so I'm going to show you how I do it. That's why I always do a half pattern. Now I want you to notice something. This isn't coming straight up, and it isn't a straight up into a circle. You want this to kind of teardrop. You want it to come back so that it creates your point down here. All right. Now I've got a drill, I got a Forstner bit, and I don't want to get huge here. Now in a minute I'll go over here and I'll drill that on out on the drill press. But you can do it by hand. But this is going to set my point coming down. See what I've got? Now I'm going to get my line in here just like we did over here. Now I need to connect these points. Now here's something I use constant. French curves. See, I could just do a sweep I could just come from this point to the point where I'm bringing my point back. This will all get clear in a minute. I'm going to sweep it down. But now first thing I notice is I'm getting real close to the floor here. So I want a little less arc. So I'm going to move my square. All I'm trying to do is get about halfway. And I'm looking at it to see if I like it as I go. You know, there's a rule. If it looks good, it is good. Now, I'm going to roll, I flip this over. Now I'm going to roll it back in. Now, this is the line I'm going to be following right here. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm simply going to take and bandsaw this, drill this, then either using a rasp, a file, what I normally use is an oscillating drum sander. I'll clean all of this up. Now I've got my half pattern. All I'm doing is laying it out. You know, a lot of times I use these black gel pens because they leave a nice dark line, unless I'm running out of ink. Okay. I know it looks kind of crude, but that's all right. Now, this is a scroll that I would typically use if I was going to be attaching into a face frame. Now, one thing I would probably do, because in looking at it, don't like, I've come down too sharp. I'd probably want it a little rounder. I think it would look better. See this line? Probably go that route. And now, if I was doing something that this was going all the way across, of course, I would back this part up to make for a foot. Now, then I bandsaw it and sand it and I'm done. Now, if this was a piece that I was going to be cutting tenons on the end of or whatever I was going to be doing, I would obviously work this or get my tenons and everything cut before I cut the scroll, while everything's nice and square. Now, the other thing is, because we've got this little point coming down, vacuum cleaner, something hitting that, and our grain's going to be running this way, that's a weak point. Here's something I do. I usually go on the back side with my grain running vertical. I glue it on there. And then, of course, once it's on the floor, you can't really see up under it, and you're not going to notice it. But what it does is it gives a tremendous amount of support should that ever be hit. That's just scrolls. I'm Charles Neal. I'll catch you later.